60 Minutes, to me, this has been my entire adult life. I have dedicated my life to being in front of the camera and trying to tell people the truth of what the hell's going on. And what 60 Minutes just did is downright disgraceful. To me, it's illegal. It's election interference. And I hope the RNC and Team Trump is going to take some legal action.
Well, it's absolutely outrageous. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking even to put it out there, because you watched that interview, if it can even be called that, and it was obvious it was edited. I remember watching at the time thinking to myself, this is not a continuous clip here. This is not a continuous interview. They're clearly cutting things out. It was that obvious at the time. And I think it's very telling that Kamala Harris, throughout all of her interviews, can't answer a single question without delivering a word salad. And I think it's also telling that the mainstream media has continually tried to run cover for her. I mean, even thinking back to MSNBC with her quote-unquote interview with Stephanie Ruhle, the first thing that Stephanie Ruhle said after that interview was that Kamala Harris was not answering questions, but that's okay. That's in the words of Stephanie Ruhle. And these are the type of people that Kamala Harris is having interviews with. So and she can't even answer those questions. She's clearly not up to the job of being president. You can't even do an interview. And it's absolutely outrageous the mainstream media continues to go through this bias. The last thing I'll say on that is that it's a reason why President Trump is so effective, because he speaks directly to the American people. He cuts through the fake news. He has since the moment he entered politics. Even before then, he's a master of reaching the American people through rallies, through social media. He speaks directly to them. And the reason why the American people are losing such trust in the mainstream media, in the fake news media, is because the fake news media is doing things to lose their trust. They have a real job that they should be doing, which is speaking truth to power, but instead they're running cover for power and running cover for Kamala Harris.
They're guilty of treason, Tommy. They are. I mean, listen, if you're a broadcast network like CBS, right, you're over the air. You have to commit to certain FCC guidelines. You can't just say whatever you want like paid cable. CNN can get away with more than an over the air. I don't know how CBS can air something like that and not be in big trouble. This is interfering with our election.
Yeah, to have that type of edit clearly is interfering in our election, just like President Trump said. And as President Trump and the Trump campaign have called for, at the bare minimum, they need to release the full transcript. They need to release the full video. We need to see exactly what they're cutting out. We've seen a few examples, a few different clips that have been published. But if those are telling of what the rest of the interview is like, we need to see that. We've been calling for that. And so President Trump has been calling for that. And again, it shows that she is not up to the job of being president. And the mainstream media is so determined to elect her, they don't care. They're so driven by their bias. Exactly. They're running cover for someone that's clearly unable to be president of the United States. She's shown that through her interviews, through her record. She's shown it time and time and time again.
She is such a horrible candidate. I mean, Joe was even a better candidate when he had his mind, right? Before the dementia kicked in. Let's be real. Joe used to be able to speak and work his way around not being a very bright guy for 50-some years in Washington, D.C. This woman, I'm sorry, is not that bright. And the mainstream media sees it, and they're literally carrying the water for her. And it just disgusts that. If they would just, in these last 25 days, just cover the man fair and square, and cover her fair and square, even Steven, as they used to say, right? Just give us that. You could open millions of minds to the reality that she is nowhere near being able to handle this job. This man already did it for 4 years, and we had success. No wars, strong economy, solid border, no woke BS in my kids' school and in my old military. These are the things that I think safe streets. These are things most Americans want.
I mean, that's exactly right. And all those issues you touched on are why it's so important we actually should have an honest media. It's because those affect people's lives directly.
Yes.
The issues that President Trump are talking about are not hypothetical. We're talking about a migrant crime epidemic across this country. We are talking about seniors forced to re-enter the workforce because they can't afford food, they can't afford rent. We're talking about families that can't have another kid or can't even have their first kid because they can't afford Kamala's price hikes. We're talking about real impacts. And on top of all of that, we're talking about a world on the brink of World War III.